Number 6, strengthening through a full range of motion. So the flexibility, the foam rolling, that can provide us with a good window of opportunity. But now we got to strength train in these ranges. So we have a good amount of research suggesting that we can get just as much flexibility and mobility from full range of motion strength training as we could from static stretching. And so now we're becoming really, really time efficient, and we're building it more permanent, much more long-term. There's a recent study, a 2021 study. I don't know the author's name, Alfonso 2021. And it confirmed what I talked about in previous podcasts, is that yes, we can build just as much flexibility through strength training as we could through stretching. Now, again, I think a combination of the two is best, but the research does suggest that that is a great option, especially if you're tight on time and you don't want to go through the stages of static stretching. Is just build it through a full range of motion. Now, I would still have the conventional stuff and then combine it with, hey, afterwards, I'm going to move on and do more of this lengthened range of motion with really light weights. It's similar to like how people used to, and still do, stand on a Bosu ball and do squats. Like, are we getting some stability? Yeah, maybe, but we're severely limiting our strength because I can't load, because balance and stability was the limiting factor. I don't want mobility to be the limiting factor of your strength development. So I still want to develop strength at ranges where we're comfortable in. I don't want to go to end range and try to build all of my strength there. One, it's a little more dangerous. There's a lot of muscle strains that happen trying to build strength or trying to really load heavy at end range. That's why I say do it with body weight, do it with light weights. And then if we handle those positions, we can gradually work our way up. But I don't want my strength or my power development to be limited by me being uncomfortable down in that low position. So full range of motion squats are great here. Front foot elevated split squats are great here. Rear foot elevated split squats are awesome. Lateral lunges. One of my favorite exercises for lengthening the groin is a really good full range lateral lunge. And we're moving in multiple planes. And so we get overall movement quality benefits. People got to spend more time in the transverse and in the frontal plane, side to side. Full range of motion RDLs. I love this for the hamstrings. Back leg lunges, or some people call it a Peterson. I believe it was Carl Peterson who came up with this one, where you're in a split stance, and instead of loading the front leg, you actually put more of your load on that back leg, and I keep my shoulders up above the hips, and now you actually get a huge rectus femoris stretch. So you feel that like in the hip flexors. This front line is kind of what a lot of people neglect, because think about a deep squat. Yeah, you're getting your ankle mobility. Yeah, you're getting your hip mobility. But there is a lot of hip flexion. So down at the bottom, the rectus femoris is slacked. So that's one of the muscles that you're really not lengthening in a squat. But as soon as you put yourself in a split stance, and then especially in the back leg lunge, where I'm really putting my weight back there, and now I'm in full hip extension and I go into knee flexion, now you're really maximally lengthening that rectus femoris, and you're strengthening it there. Another one that's huge for us in the durability code is training the hip flexors with the cable, right? We look at where do we got to be strong in the hip flexors in running, even in jumping. Well, with the knee back behind the body, with the knee back behind the hip, that's where it's most important to explosively drive the knee back forward. People do it with like a band, and the band is light, and then it reaches tension at the top of the range of motion. So you're overloading the shortened range, which we really don't need that much. It could be beneficial, but we really don't need it that much. Picking up a weight off the floor, it's decent, but you're doing mid-range because that weight is not a constant resistance. So to get it off the floor, there's very little torque on the hips, so that the hip flexors aren't working very hard. But with a cable, that's a constant resistance. So with the knee back behind the hip, I'm overloading that position. And so that's a great way to build length in the hip flexors, because, a lot of times people are just really, really weak at that longer muscle length, and that's why their hip flexors are tight. So there's a lot of different stuff that we do in the durability code that allows us to train through a full range of motion and build your flexibility kind of built in all inclusive, so you don't waste a ton of time doing static stretching. Although early on, we do a good amount of static stretching to gradually get you into the program.